Welcome to another episode of Athlete Things, and today we're delighted to have Vicky Kijumnuayporn
Oh my
on the
God.
podcast. Sorry, I almost messed that up. What's going on, Vicky?
Hey, I'm good. Those are decent pronunciations. Buckled a little bit there.
I know, well, I was bloody practicing about 10 times before you
Oh my
came on,
God.
and I crumbled under pressure. Uh, Thanks for coming on.
No, all good. Pleasure.
What's been going on? So obviously, huge world performance over in Malta for
Mm.
your first World Championships. What's been going on since? How's life? How's training? What's been doing?
Um, yeah, we've been training and it's just taken a while to get back in the groove, finding momentum again. I
Yeah.
think it was like towards the end of the block where I was like, yeah, I'm starting to feel strong again. And then yeah, we got sick, so that yeah happened. But it's a fresh block now, so I'm pretty keen. Yeah.
Yeah, it took me
Hopefully we'll
like
push something decent as well. But yeah, you
It's
were saying.
taken me it's taken me like a good 2 weeks of consistent training to feel strong again.
Mm,
What about you, Steve? You're
yeah.
finding your groove again?
Groove wise, I was like straight back into it. That was fine. Strength wise, doing taking like a different approach with my own training. So not until like last week did I really feel strong. But in terms of like mindset, momentum, well, not really momentum, but just like the way that I'm feeling about training is probably at an all-time high.
Mm,
Was
Mm.
this like the longest break you've taken away from training, Vicky? Because like I mean, post Malta, you were kind of
yeah.
just chilling out, right? And then that's
Yes.
like now that you're back, it's a bit different.
Yeah, like since powerlifting and like competing, I haven't really taken a break. So this was like the first like big break, which was like, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks of no training at all. So when I came back, like I actually felt like really weak and shit. But also I made like a couple of changes to my training. So I decided to try heels for squats. That took me a couple of sessions to get used to that. Um I'm still I'm still trying to figure it out still. Like it doesn't feel natural for me yet. Every session is kind of different. Uh Bench, we've decided to go back to max grip. I don't know how, but max grip now is still depth for me. So I was like, okay, let's give that a go. Um, yeah, deadlifts are still the same, but still just trying to build that strength back up. Yeah.
Yes.
We want to go straight kind of head first into worlds
Mm,
for you because obviously like you had this really quick rise, right? First kind of
mm,
APU comp in 2020,
yeah.
first big nationals in 2022, which we can kind of segue past. But yeah, your first kind of worlds, Malta, it was the biggest world championships. What was kind of, I guess, the initial goals for your first worlds? And then what was the kind of mindset around your training as you headed into it?
Um, Goal was definitely to podium. I mean, I knew from the start that it was going to be hard. But like I was trying my best, like anything could happen. I didn't rule myself out. I think I still had like a good chance. Um, and what was the other part of the question? Like training,
Yeah,
did you
just like
say?
training, like through the preparation, I guess, how
Uh,
was like the overall prep and training? We got Steve here, so you can help chime in.
mm,
But like since
I,
nationals, then you had that,
yeah.
October to June period.
Mm.
What was that kind of whole prep like with your training and like mindset?
I think I felt a lot of pressure, like from myself, from other people
Yeah.
to perform. And then we had that Perth Cup, which didn't go well. Like that was just disappointing for me. So I think that kind of gave me like a bit of fire as well because I was like, I don't know what happened, like it was so shit. So I came back and I was just determined to um just get better. And I think that block after Perth Cup, I put on 17.5 kilos to my deadlift. Yeah, and that
Yeah.
was like a huge PB. for deadlifts. So yeah. Um
I'm curious between both you and Steve, like what was something that Steve addressed on the programming end to kind of address that? And then was there anything that you kind of changed mentally for you to like hit that number or like essentially just skyrocket your deadlift in that short period of time?
I think it was just a technical issue for me. So Steve suggested before Perth that I tried this setup, and I gave it a go, and I was like, oh, I don't really get it. Like I don't really know how to do it properly. So then I just sacked it. But then my deadlift just wasn't getting any better. And at Perth, like I failed 162. So I'm like, I gotta do something about it. I gotta change. So and then I remembered that Steve was like suggesting me to try this setup. So I went back to that, tried it again, like really gave it a good shot. And I'm like, okay, this is actually working. And yeah, it just like it was a matter of like practicing.
Yeah.
And then in what, like 5-6 weeks, I went from like failing 162.5 at Perth Cup and then hitting 170 in training. Yeah.
I think on my end, from a programming point of view, besides like the technical things that we worked on, there was also that adding that third day in.
Oh yeah, that too.
That was huge. I think just from like, because we knew early on that you needed this like high end intensity exposure to be able to work through things. But I went back through a lot of your training history before we actually worked together and was looking at just your Instagram and noticed that you responded really well to just being able to like kind of output with straps on and just hit a bunch of reps. So that's where I came up with that third day there, which was just like hit one single, no straps, at like a low threshold RPE, and then AMRAP that with straps.
Yeah.
Which was like, because I knew that I could see that this output was like, it was relaying well into what you could do from like a 1RM standpoint. But for us to kind of fit it into your program without it being separate was hard. So that's where I came up with that third day, which it's like, in reality, it's 2 sets, right?
Yeah.
It's not a ton of work. So, but the results that it yielded outside of like the technical adjustments we made as well was just huge.
Yeah, I think I
crazy.
respond like really well to volume. So that's with like squats, bench, deadlift. And I recover really fast as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
like
that
3
works.
days of deadlifting, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And like the fact that it was what, Perth Cup. So you guys made that change post Perth Cup, which is in March. You had a really short turnaround then. So it was like, was there anything going through your mind, Steve, where you're like, shit, if this doesn't work, or like if this works, like what was going through your mind as a coach? Because you kind of had to fix that deadlift, right?
Yeah. So for me, it was like, what's the worst that could really happen, right? It doesn't get stronger, because we knew how it was responding, and it wasn't responding in a reasonable manner, right? It wasn't the way that we wanted it to happen. So from my point of view, it was just, I could just see it working, right? And like, if I can see something working, like most of the time it generally does, and it's trial and error, right? If it didn't work, it didn't work, but at least we gave it a crack. And I knew that there was something that had to change. And I'd already seen from Vicky's deadlift over that period from Nationals to Perth Cup that she needed this high-end exposure, but at the same time needed some kind of volume somewhere to be able to perform well there as well. So we couldn't just go like high-end and then volume after. It had to be like low reps on one day and then still be recovered enough on another day to be able to perform that kind of outputty set where she just kind of just blasts through it. And I said, like, I want you to strap up and everything. Like, I don't care about your grip or anything like that, because there was the grip issues on Vicky's end as well, with dropping deadlifts. So she would hold on to everything else and not use straps. But I knew that they helped just from going back from that output point of view.
Yeah. Okay. And then like that ended up leading to obviously like skyrocketed your deadlift. So training got really productive there. And like just, I know it was post Worlds, but like you posted like all your training after Worlds, and is like, that was probably the hardest training you've ever done for a period of time, right? Like how was training for you towards like the last few weeks?
It was tough. Like physically I felt really exhausted. Mentally as well, it was just like I just had this huge heavy weight on my shoulders, and I'm like, oh, I just want to compete already, just get over and done with. But yeah, it was more dealing with like the mental side. And I think with like the days that we flew out, I had to do a back-to-back deadlift session. And I think the first day I had like a heavy deadlift, and then the second day it was like maybe rep work or something. But I just remember, oh, and this was like a 5 a.m. session. I had to fit this in so that I could fly at 2 p.m. And that was the hardest session. I actually cried after deadlifts. Like I just felt so shit. I didn't even tell Steve this, but like I sat at the gym and I'm just bawling my eyes out. And Anthony's there, not training. He's just there for mental support. And it's like comforting me. It's like, oh, it's the last session. It's okay. You can do this. Like one more set. Yeah. But I think it was just like a built up of emotions over the last like couple of weeks. Yeah.
Like you said, right? You said like you have that kind of big weight on your shoulders, and it's that last little 10 meters of the running race where you've got like, you know, you've just done deadlifts, you've got how many sets left before you fly out. So I imagine if you're feeling that physically and mentally burnt out, it can just hit you when you can't control it.
Yeah.
And then Anthony has to come save you.
Yeah. Maybe it was also like waking up at like 4 a.m. to train at 5 a.m.
Yeah, it's probably just you being tired.
I'm not a morning person at all. So I train at like 8 p.m. every day. I'm a night
You
owl.
don't exactly train early as well during the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we yeah, you go.
The funny thing is, like we flew out, and then when we landed in London, we went and trained straight away, and I had deadlifts. So there was like maybe like 48 hours in between, but I kid you not, it was like night and day. Like I did 165 and it was so quick. And I'm like, wow, 48 hours of recovery just like did magic for me.
On a plane?
Yeah, I just sat on a plane, just ate, did nothing. And then deadlifts showed up. So yeah, that was something that I learned as well. That like I actually don't need that many days to recover. Yeah.
Yeah, we were going to ask you about the travel and like how it affected you, but I guess you just said it right there. Like you basically just sat down pretty comfy in that small airplane seat, I'm sure, and ate.
I had heaps of leg room. Yeah, so it was alright.
So you said before, like obviously expectations and goals, like with the podium, and then, you know, we head to the competition, right? You're on the very first day.
First day.
Very first day. And it ends up being like quite a battle, right? Like you've gone from being in Australia pretty far ahead from most other competitors, you know, and then you head to the world platform for the very first time, and now you've got this 3 hours or 2.5 hours of lifting where it's pretty tightly contested. So just, I guess, what was the competition like from the start to the end in terms of like the game plan, how you managed it, your mental side of things in terms of how it unfolded?
I think I didn't expect my arousal level to be that high on the day, but like I was like finding it hard to breathe because I was so nervous. And so I don't know, my bracing felt a little bit off, like for squats, because I just couldn't breathe. And then normally I would hit like ammonia in training, and it's worked for me, but I found that at Worlds, like I actually should not have had ammonia at all because I was just already like so hyped.
So hyped.
But then and then when I had ammonia, it was like too much. It just brought me over, and I just felt like especially like my third squat, I wasn't even thinking, like I just went in. I think my bracing was just so bad, and like the 145, I just failed that. But then again, like the second attempt of 142 was already hard.
Yeah.
So it was like, I think, with squats, I remember I was like, 142.5, that should get me like third place or something, right? But I didn't realize that in the first flight, there was another girl that had already hit 142.5.
Yeah.
So I was like ranked 4th for squats. And when I found out, in the back room, I was just so disappointed. I was like, oh my gosh, I missed out just purely by like body weight. Yeah. And then bench came around. I guess after missing third squats, I just wanted to build on that total. So I didn't really want to take a risk. So I stuck to the game plan, which was like 85, 87, and then just hit 90.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe like in hindsight, 92.5 might have been there, but I think it would have been a grind and like it would have been risky. So I didn't want to go 87 to like 92, and then if I missed, then that's like 5 kilos lost.
Yeah, that's a big chunk.
Yeah, so I just I played it safe. And deadlifts, honestly, like warm-ups felt great, first attempt felt great, second attempt also felt great, even though Ryan was like, oh, I didn't have much left in the tank. At the time I thought like, oh yeah, 5 kilos, like that should be fine. But then again, like third deadlifts came around, I was way too aroused. I was like hyperventilating, and then I got hit with like ammonia, which was like a fresh bottle, and Jacob, who handled me at the time, he just squeezed that bottle into my face. And I remember walking on the platform and I was blinded.
Oh shit.
Like I couldn't open my eyes, so I like stepped back and tried to take a like just have a breather for a couple of seconds, and then I went to deadlift. But yeah, so that's a huge takeaway for me. Like on the world stage, I think there's so much going on that like next time I would just try to kind of like bring it down a little bit, bring the energy down, and just stay calm. Yeah. And I wouldn't hit ammonia on the world stage again, I think.
That third deadlift, that was 172, right? No.
Yeah.
It was 172, yeah.
That 172. I think I just rushed the setup, wasn't thinking, and then
I think one thing we have to point out is at Worlds you total PR'd and you knocked off the 400 kilo total.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you feel like, obviously, because you went into Worlds like with that goal of hitting the podium, like did that kind of give you a bit of like an overarching disappointment in terms of the day and how you felt after?
Yeah, I think I had really mixed emotions about it afterwards. The first emotion I felt was obviously like I was disappointed. I wasn't proud. But like maybe a couple of hours after, then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, okay, it's not that bad. Like I'm still proud that I did achieve like a 400 kilo total. I did come, fifth. There's a lot of like third medal for bench. There's still a lot of achievements there, even though I did feel I couldn't help but feel disappointed that I didn't get to podium, which was like the main goal. Yeah. So it was mixed feelings. I can't lie about that. Yeah.
Looking back on it now, it's been like what, 4 or 5 weeks. If you were to reflect on it now, it's like this was your very first Worlds, right? And to pretty much place near the top 10 and even be in a spot where you're competitive enough to win or podium on your first Worlds is already an achievement in of itself, right? And like we've had conversations about it, like you're going to build from this, and there's lessons from this that's going to push you even further, right? And not forgetting that initially, there's going to be that sense of disappointment, but remembering that considering this is your first Worlds, you're going to come back to the second knowing a lot more and having a purpose in training leading up all the way to Lithuania.
Yeah, for sure. I had to remind myself that it's not like this is the first and only Worlds that I'm ever going to do. It's just the first one, and I'm going to come back next year. So there's more future opportunities. Yeah.
Outside of the no ammonia, what are some other things that you've kind of mentally taken into training now? Like what's the kind of shift like? Are you like, what are the things you're doing to increase performance and come back next year without that doubt?
I don't think I'm doing anything different. I'm still just training the same. I think like my motivation is always high. Like I always look forward to every gym session. It's like my priority. I move everything in my life around training. So yeah, it's just the same thing really. Just staying focused, just doing what I do, train hard. Yeah.
Just to flip back,
Mm.
before we leave Worlds, what was the biggest highlight across the whole week? Like even like not including the competition performance, what was the highlight?
I guess like meeting everyone.
Yeah.
Like I just remember me, Danny, James were just like fangirling, fanboying over everyone we saw in the warm-up room or the training room. Yeah. I think that was nice. And then like we had like a training session with Tiff as well. I wasn't training, but like Danny was training and I was just watching. But
Yeah,
that was
that's my
fun.
favorite.
Yeah, we had like a good conversation with them as well. Yeah, that was
Danny was
inspiring.
I've literally got the video of like the deadlift that I pulled up, and Julian helped load up my bar. Turbo Tiff was helping loading up, and I don't even have. I've got the clip of them loading it up for me saved, and I don't even look at the actual deadlift itself. I'm like, man, Turbo Tiff was there, Julian was there. I was like, I trained with the French team. That was great. That was my highlight.
Yeah,
But I
every
that was,
think
that was a good moment.
every time I went to the training hall, you were training, Danny.
yeah, I had to suck it in. I was still in like training mode, right? So I was like, I don't know, I had to get the session in no matter where I was at.
Yeah.
But that led to very good interactions and
Yeah.
just seeing the caliber and the mentality as well. Like we did mention like the French team training, and this is like post competition for them, and they're already training in like at 7, at 8 range, right? It's like, what the hell are they doing? It's like, oh yeah, Tiff's got a comp in 2 weeks. And you go, oh shit, okay. Like doesn't matter where you're at. Like they're already training for the next one, right? So no time to stop and reflect. I mean, or potentially they're already at a level where they've won so much where it's like, yeah, hit what you expect and move on. Right. So I don't know, everyone's a bit different, but I definitely learned a lot.
I was watching the females and there was a Georgian, I think she was Georgian lifter, and she almost bombed on squats. Anyway, the next day I went in the training hall and did a session, and she was on there on a combo rack doing like squat singles with like a minute rest, and she would have done like 30 of them. I'm
Oh my
not like,
gosh.
she was just like going back to back with her coach standing there, like watching every single squat, like the day after she competed, obviously just like straight back on the horse, not wanting to bomb a squat again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's cool.
that's eye-opening, you know, and it's like it's refreshing to see as well. Because sometimes back in Australia, you don't get that kind of like environment. I feel like in Australia, everyone's a bit more chill. It's just part of our nature, right? We're so relaxed.
It's a cultural thing.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing. And then you see these other lifters from like around the world, and it's like non-stop for them. Yeah. And they take it so seriously. So it's good. It's a different perspective.
We had this conversation, like me, you, Tiff, and a bunch of the other French lifters, right? Like they're very intentional about it with creating that culture. And that was something like we wanted to kind of bring a bit of that flavor as well when we train, right? And it's like it's difficult, but the fact that they put so much effort into that, like they've got that culture now that's kind of just ingrained there, and that kind of pushes the whole culture forward. Like that's why you see all of them just exploding, right? So like to see people like you, Steve, training, and then like people around them will grow as well. Around you guys, we'll kind of see like, oh, you know, Vicky's always training hard, Steve's always training hard. Like I can try hard as well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
Like your environment really you become your environment, right? Yeah, so like it's good to surround yourself with people who are very similar. Yeah.
Rising tide lifts all boats, brothers. I think it's like a big thing. I mean, obviously, like, yeah, with Steve and I prepping for Worlds and that kind of energy that we had when we were training, like it was that kind of high energy, this is the goal kind of environment, which, you know, I don't know how much that kind of bled into other people's training, but yeah, you definitely feel it. And for sure, training environment is huge in terms of surrounding yourself with other people that are taking it seriously. It seems like you have that at Park
Mm.
a
Yeah,
lot with your crew.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
I'm
they
not.
Shout out to the Park pals.
yeah, nah, they've really created a like fun environment, and like we have fun, but we also train hard. And whenever someone's, hitting a PR, we all gather around and we're all screaming. We're like G'ing this person up. Yeah. So it's good. Very good community there.
Yeah, so good. Real quick, any funny travel stories with James?
Yeah. I mean, the honey one that I put up on my story, that was funny. I don't even know how he thought he could bring in like a liter of honey. That's liquid. But he was like, "Hi, I'm just trying my luck." I'm like, "Hey." Um, I think
How
my
much?
biggest surprise was like because I shared the Airbnb with James, Danny, and Steve, right? And I honestly thought like James was gonna be the worst, like the dirtiest
Oh, here
person
we go.
there.
Who was?
But it wasn't. It's
Oh,
Danny.
no.
And I was so
Oh,
shocked.
Oh no.
Yeah. Because like
I'm
you just look
exposed.
at them, you think,
I'm
James is
exposed.
the dirtiest person. But it's actually that guy's all right. Like he cleans up after himself, but oh my god, Danny, he'll be eating. There's like crumbs on the floor, he doesn't pick it up. And it's got like
I
socks
was going
lying on
there.
the floor. Yeah, I don't know where Steve went. He was gone for like 3 days.
Steve
But yeah,
doesn't count.
honestly, I saw like these socks on the floor for like 2 days. I'm like, surely someone's gonna fucking pick up this pair of socks. And like towards the end, no one picked it up. And I'm like, whose socks are these? And Daddy's like, oh yeah, it's mine. Sorry.
You're publicly roasted right now. In my defense, the living room was my bedroom.
No, that's
But
true.
but there was that separation between the kitchen and the
Yeah.
sofa. So
Yeah.
I'll take it off for that one.
Where the bathroom was pretty disgusting too. There was like dead skin, Steve's
Oh.
dead skin
Yeah,
after
yeah,
it got
yeah.
burnt. Yeah, I remember
Oh.
Oh no.
that.
I had a peel of that skin. It was the best.
I think everyone did.
All right, moving forward. I guess one thing I want to kind of cover, going back before, like you've had this quick rise through powerlifting, right? Like first comp in 2020. What was the turning point or the moment or the competition that you thought, fuck, I can be pretty good at this, or I'm gonna take this pretty far? Like, was there a specific moment that you can think of, and that from then it was just like go, go, go?
Yeah, I think it was women's states last year. So the 2021, yeah, at City Strength. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that was like my breakthrough comp where people really started to like notice me as like a strong lifter. And I don't know, I think I think I totaled like
She's got it ready.
maybe like 370.
I think I've got it
Let me
here.
check.
383.5.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That
I think that
was,
was
oh yeah, 2022.
Crack the 500 dots there.
Was it 500? Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it
was
like
it. Yeah.
504. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the day. And I was like, oh shit, I can actually like go pretty far. I never really thought about going to Worlds before this. Or even like in 2021, I never really thought about going to Worlds. I was just like, oh, I want to go nationals and maybe like get some records for 47s and then I'll be happy with that. But yeah, every year it's like I just set bigger goals. Yeah. So it's from breaking records to like then I wanted to be number one in Australia, which I achieved that in nationals last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
And now
there
it's hopefully podium at Worlds. That's the next one.
Steve's got a smile on his face. Is there any kind of, I've always wanted to ask you this, is there any motivation behind your training, knowing that your coach Steve is currently number 2 behind you? Is there any motivation where you want to stay ahead of Steve?
Oh,
Or
of course.
are you happy to share the love?
Nah.
Oh,
I want to make sure that I've always got the highest GL
yeah,
score in Australia.
no matter who.
I always want to keep a safe gap.
It's not safe.
That's good. I need that.
Yeah, it's special, right? I think it's really cool, like that kind of bond you two can share over that, because yes, Steve's your coach, but in that sense, you're both really driving each other to just separate yourselves from the pack.
Yeah, for sure.
You said bigger and bigger goals. What are some others? Are you planning on just kind of making a season out of Worlds?
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, I don't know how many years I'd be able to go to Worlds, but I just want to make the most of it. Yeah. Take it day by day. Yeah.
I'm just curious, how do you kind of see like competing like local state nationals now?
At first I was gonna chill for states, but then I changed my mind. I actually want to go hard for states. I didn't really, I guess like with Worlds, I had a number in mind, which was like 407, 410, but I fell short of that. So hopefully at states, I'll hit something close to that. Yeah. And I was actually thinking, like, should I just chill for states and just sign up as like a 52? But on second thoughts, nah. I'm just gonna keep going. 47
Steve's going
all the
crazy
way.
right now. It's like, what the fuck is this? Chill
It was
states.
like, I didn't tell him because it was just like a passing thought, and then I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna do 47. Yeah.
Gonna send it.
Yeah.
It's special now, right? Because like, I mean, now that you realize your nationals is essentially your qualifying total for Worlds now, right? So like you really got to push it for nationals as well. And that definitely determines your primetime spot also.
Yeah. Yes, that's
so
what we learned.
Yeah. Just got to blow it out of the water, and then wherever you land up for Worlds is where you land.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. We've got a quick little overrated, underrated segment.
Yep.
There's 3 of them. I'll leave that one till last. I'll go first one, overrated, underrated, bench depth rule.
Overrated.
Yeah. Do you feel like it wasn't, like, the hype around it in terms of how much of a change it wasn't that much of a big deal at Worlds?
Yeah, I think everyone freaked out too much, including myself. I also freaked out, and I just made a bunch of like changes, and so I feel like bench kind of stored for like, since I've been changing a lot of my tech and just, yeah. I wish I kind of just stuck to whatever I was doing. I mean, like recently, last week I tried max grip again, and it was I hit depth, and I'm like, why did I change? I don't know. Yeah, so definitely overrated.
It's hard. Bench was definitely the problem child leading into Worlds for us.
Yeah.
That was like, we were making like weekly adjustments to your program to make things kind of work. And there was always that question mark around depth. And we thought it was going to be like, we'd watch Sheffield and be like, okay, this is where the standard is. But it was like, we didn't really see anything happen at Sheffield. Then we get to Worlds and it was kind of the same. So now it's like, okay, it's just got to look decent, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're pretty good.
Yeah.
I think people just, everyone freaked out. Because there's no clear like ruling or guideline like that everyone sticks to. So doesn't feel standardized across the board, which made it really hard for everyone.
Yeah. and that being the first worlds with the new bench rule as well,
Yeah.
I think that made everything kind of like uncertain.
Yeah.
I think like there was obviously all this kind of hype around the bench rule, and then they brought out a light to check your butt lift to show the butt lift more on camera. And it's like I was stressing more about, I mean, I don't have a problem with depth, but I was stressing hard about the butt lift from this freaking light they were flashing underneath your ass.
Really? I didn't even know that they were doing that at Worlds.
Yeah.
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 Oh.
They had a
Oh,
They had
wow.
two on each side so the ref can see it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was like,
wow.
man, they're not being lenient at all. Like
Yeah.
they're gonna catch you if your butt lifts.
Because
Mm.
any little bit of space, you could see the light in the background just shining through.
Right.
It was more so on the stream, like with the jury and stuff, you could see it because they were watching the
Yeah.
replays.
Mm. Oh yeah, with
All
the
right,
jury,
next.
that was new. Like
Yeah,
I didn't expect that there'd be like that the jury would have such a huge say, you know, or a decision. Yeah. But I mean, it worked in my favor, so I'm not complaining. Yeah.
It actually moves. Going back to that, it definitely made your session very entertaining, especially by
Yeah.
squats. That
Yeah.
was crazy.
It was like me and Heather. Yeah.
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's right, Heather.
Uh
Damn, that was
yeah.
close. Next one, overrated, underrated, deadlift specialist leverages.
Overrated. I hate deadlift specialists.
Yeah.
But hey, if you can't beat them, you're gonna be one, right? Just join them
That's right.
I
Build that
noticed
total.
one day.
I noticed post training or like training for you now, your hips are starting
Mm.
higher. I was gonna ask, I was like, how's that going?
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember like our all of Malta were like fucking deadlift specialists. Like this sucks. Like looking at everyone's arm lengths and it's like, man, look at them. They're finishing at like right above the kneecap. Like this sucks.
Yeah.
And then we're like, yeah, when we go back, we're gonna make sure our deadlifts are actually hingy and we're gonna make it as efficient as we can.
Yeah, I realized like if I start with my hips higher, not over wedged, then it just works better for me. Yeah, so I'm still working on like the lockout. Yeah. Yeah, work in progress. One day I'll
Yeah.
be a deadlift specialist. I mean,
Yeah,
my arms
same.
aren't that short. It's like, I reckon I have really similar leverages to Steve. We're like built exactly the same almost. He's just the
Yeah.
male version. Yeah.
Pulls 300, so anything can happen.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Overrated, underrated. Anthony back spotting.
Underrated. I reckon he should spot more people, not just me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love how he's always in the back of your videos and like just staring so intently. I love it.
Into
It's
my
the
head.
best. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there's like in the powerlifting community in Sydney, Anthony's like, let's go. You know, have you heard that? He's like, let's go.
I was gonna ring that
It's really
up.
it's really famous. Everyone's been doing it. Like
Let's
everyone's
go.
trying to everyone's trying to imitate it. So like at park, whenever someone's going for like a PR, there's like 4 or 5 guys is like doing the Anthony impersonation. Let's go. Yeah, he's a meme now.
That's so good. I love it. I'm all for it.
He's the best. I love Anthony.
All right. Thanks, Vicky. Thanks so much for coming on.
All good. Thanks for having me.
All the best for your training in the lead up to States. And we'll just keep posting. Everyone can check you out, see your progress, and all the best with it.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
It was fun.
Sweet.